men don't have multiple areas in the brain for emotions. They only have 2 areas of brain for emotion, and they compartmentalize it. So how women will be like, oh, it's like pulling teeth to get him to talk. It's because men can very easily just set aside the emotion. And if they do tap into the emotion, it's pure emotion because they're not able to solve problems and talk and hear at the same time. So it's just this one area for emotion. And then if it's going to come out, it's going to come out raw and scary.
Like 99% of men were never actually taught how to express their emotions. The chances are it's not even your fault that you're going through it, because most men learn this trait from their fathers, and most of our fathers had no clue how to deal with their emotions.
Dangerous man in the world is the emotional man. Why? Because he's gonna do things out of anger. He's going to shoot up the school because he's angry. He's emotional. He's gonna go hurt someone or stab somebody because they were in their parking space. That's emotions. And many men that are locked up in our prison systems, guess what? It's because they're emotional. So I would argue that the most dangerous man is not the masculine man, but the emotional man.
Hey fam, so today we will be talking about why men lack emotional intelligence, why men are emotionally disconnected with women. Note, not all men. Why men find it difficult to express themselves emotionally. People have different theories to this. Some people are saying that the most dangerous men are men with emotion, not the toxic masculine men, those ones that are in touch with their emotions. Some people are also saying that it has to do with the brain, how men are being wired, the compartmentalization of the brain and all that. It's quite an interesting topic. Have you ever been in a relationship where your partner found it so hard to connect with you emotionally? Have you ever been with a man that is emotionally unavailable? Have you ever been with a man that cannot express himself emotionally? You have to push and push just for him to tell you exactly what's going on, what he's struggling with. Has that been your situation? Have you ever experienced that? Or do you know someone that has experienced that?
Men are naturally wired to be logical, and women are naturally wired to be emotional. So there is a difference of natures between the man and between the woman. And if there is no understanding amongst both parties of the difference of natures and the purpose of why the male and the female has different natures, then there is going to be a fight. There's going to be a battle. And that fight is simply called a lack of understanding. Now, a lack of understanding occurs when you cannot, it's not that you won't, but you cannot put yourself into the mind of another person. In other words, what do people say? Put yourself in another person's shoes. So what happens often in relationships is that we see that the man, because he's naturally wired to be logical, what comes out of the woman's mouth makes absolutely no sense, because all he hears is emotions.
There's a lot of men out there who are just not emotionally available. Now, let me say, a lot of that emotional unavailability is not because a man is not capable, but it's going to be dependent a lot of times on his seriousness with this woman. Meaning, if a man is just trying to have a casual relationship with a woman because though he desires her for various reasons, he doesn't see a future with her. With that woman, he's not going to be emotionally available, because the goal is not to let this move into an emotional place and a place of depth. It's to keep it on the surface. It's to have fun. It's just to be casual. And so what happens is, because a lot of women meet those kind of men, you start to believe that these men are incapable of being emotionally available. No, it's just that one piece of the puzzle is it has to be two people who are serious about each other and see a potential future with each other. However, there are examples of men, whether they're serious or not, struggle with emotional vulnerability or emotional availability because that requires vulnerability, and they have things they haven't healed from that block that willingness to be vulnerable, or they have not learned how to be emotionally available in a healthy way.
Realize a lot of women date emotionally unavailable men. That way they can point the finger, because they're not emotionally available either, and you don't have to do the labor of finding out what's going on with you when you date a man that's worse off than you. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're used to being the one that can't be caught. You're used to being aloof. You're used to not being so when you get with a man who got more red flags than you, it's easier to point at him and say he's the problem, and you walk off and don't do no more work. And then you meet a nigga who actually is emotionally intelligent. You meet a dude that actually does communicate in real time when something is wrong. You meet a dude that actually does have boundaries, and now you look funny in the light. And I'm just saying, I don't know y'all personally. I'm only speaking from my experience. A lot of women be looking funny as in the light, bruh.
Is there a significant reason biologically why women are more expressive when it comes to emotions compared to men? Let's have a look at these emojis that represent a man's day and a woman's day. In a man's day, he expresses just two emotions, good and bad. In a woman's day, she's very expressive. You can see different emotions, not just good and bad emotions. We have more than 5 emojis here representing how she feels. This shows that women are more expressive. But is there any biological explanation to this? This is also another example showing how men express their emotion and women express their emotions. To men, it's just good and bad, but with women, we can see different emotions. Females often have a larger hippocampus, the center of human memory, with a higher density of neural connections in that area. As a result, females take in and absorb more sensory and emotional information than their male counterparts. This is what science is saying. They have other studies that also came out to make same claims with their findings. This image suggests that men and women's brain are structured differently when it comes to emotional sensitivity. The male brain has smaller limbic system associated with feelings and self-expression, while that of the woman have larger deep limbic system, making women a storehouse of emotions. This image suggests that women's brain are structured differently compared to that of men. You can pause it and have a closer look at it. Recent studies have debunked the claim that men and women's brain are structured differently when it comes to emotions. Are women truly more emotional than men? Sex differences in an indirect model-based measure of emotional feelings. Here's the abstract of that article. Common beliefs regard women as being more emotional than men. However, assessing difference in emotional feelings holds methodological challenges because of being based on explicit reports. Such research often lacks an explicit measurement model, and reports are potentially biased by stereotypical knowledge and because of existing sex differences in the ease of emotional label retrieval. Men are just as emotional as women, studies suggest. Despite centuries of stereotypes, a new study finds that men are just as emotional as women. Study shows women share similar emotional highs and lows. Contrary to widely held gender stereotypes, women are not more emotional than men, researchers say.
Do you ladies feel like women are seriously ready for emotionally intelligent men?
Kitty, what do you think? Okay, let's talk about what emotional intelligence comes with before we even get into this conversation, okay? We're talking about you wanting a man who is tolerant, who regulates his emotions, who also knows how to manage your emotions. But you're also talking about a man who knows how to navigate his sensitivities and everything else when it comes to that. But you have to consider that an emotionally intelligent man is good at cutting people off when he sees that your sensitivities bring too much reactivity. When he sees that you cannot regulate your emotions. When he sees that you have a low tolerance. This type of man that you are asking for is a man who will walk you out the door in a heartbeat if he feels like you are disrupting his peace. If he feels like there's any level of disrespect, because there's a lot that comes with emotional intelligence. So if you asking for that, you got to come with the same level of emotional intelligence as well. Okay? That comes with a number of factors. So if you are a woman who knows that even though you may be sensitive to certain things like criticism, rejection, because you're not always going to be accepted. Sometimes he's going to bounce back, and sometimes he's going to say, I don't agree with your opinion. Sometimes he's going to say, I don't like those thoughts. Sometimes he's going to say, I don't like the way you speak to me. If you're not ready for that, don't be asking for an intelligent man.
important to say, all right, I can understand that you're not at the capacity to have this argument or this conversation with me. But when are you? Because when we go back and we circle back to shutting down, right, it's I'll have this conversation later or until I'm not mad anymore or if I'm not upset anymore. And then I'll just kind of like sweep it under the rug. And sometimes the frustration comes in when you're tired of people just sweeping things under the rug or your partner sweeping things under the rug and not like communicating. And this is why you yearn for that emotional intelligence. Let's talk about it. Let's fix this problem.
I like the fact that you spoke on shutting down. You'll hear a lot of people say I'm emotionally intelligent and one of their coping mechanisms or defense mechanisms is to shut down. Well, then you lack emotional intelligence if that's the case, because shutting down is part of your fight or flight. So that means that you don't have the ability in that moment to regulate whatever emotion it is that you're experiencing and to be able to be vocal about what you're experiencing. So that's not a part of emotional intelligence whatsoever.
Right.
This might kind of be common knowledge for people, but I just had this like realization in my head and I wanted to share. We can all agree that there's like a stereotype, not even a stereotype, I think it's kind of true, but like women are more emotionally intelligent than men. But like, how do you gain emotional intelligence if you're not just born with it? In my opinion, you gain emotional intelligence by like talking about hard things. Women, like, we're talkers. Like, we love to talk. I don't even need to have solutions to my things, but if I can just like have a second to just really vent and get every single detail and just feel understood by someone else, like listening, that I feel like I walk away and I'm like more healed. And then I also walk away and I have more understanding, because a lot of times I do have something to say back, and it brings a new perspective, and there's healing that comes with that, right? So in my mind, women are more emotionally intelligent because we talk more about hard things, whereas men,
Okay, I'm about to tell you one sign that a man has low emotional intelligence and you should run away before he drives you insane. Ready for it? He won't admit to sadness or struggle. He'll reflect back on a difficult event and be like, yeah, it didn't bother me. When a man can admit, like, this really hurt me, or this was a hard time in my life, and doesn't always have to appear so tough or like they shut out their emotions all the time, huge green flag. Those guys that act like nothing ever gets to them, they just suppress it all. And it's not gonna be any different with you.
Men are not that emotionally intelligent women. Just know that. When you ask what's wrong and he say he don't know, that's because he don't know. Like, for real, like, I be at work, I have a great career, I have a great job, I get a great paycheck. But if things aren't going well the way I want them to at work, I can get into a moment and it could be like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. Something's wrong. I just don't know how to express that. I don't know what I'm feeling. And a lot of times the women, they see it, they start analyzing because they are born as psychologists, so they can figure out, well, is it this? Well, it's probably that. And even if he can't express that, a lot of times she'll step in and say, well, it's probably this, and she'll put a bunch of stuff to it. It's like, oh, maybe it is. But that's why it's important to have professionals. Right. Because, no, for real, because, you know, a woman, she's a mechanic, but she don't know how to work on the electronics of the car.
Right. You're right.
So she's over there messing stuff up, and you like, yeah, it's probably what it is, because we don't know. We do not know. When he says he don't know, trust me, he does not know.
Emotional intelligence is the ability for one to recognize, understand, manage, and express emotions effectively, both in oneself and in others. It involves a set of skills that enables individuals to navigate social interactions, empathize with others, manage stress, and make sound decisions. Here is a breakdown of the components of emotional intelligence. Self-awareness. This is the ability to recognize and understand one's own emotions, including their impacts on thoughts, behavior, and decision making. Self-aware people are attuned to their strengths, weaknesses, values, and goals. Number 2 is self-regulation. Self-regulation involves managing one's own emotions, impulses, and reactions in healthy and constructive ways. Self-awareness also includes controlling negative emotions such as anger or anxiety, adapting to change, and maintaining a positive outlook even in a challenging situation. Social awareness. Social awareness involves being attuned to emotions and the need of others. It includes empathy and the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, as well as sensitivity to social cues and dynamics. Number 4 is relationship management. This refers to the ability to build and maintain a healthy relationship with others. It involves effective communication, conflict resolution, teamwork, and the ability to inspire and influence others positively. Emotional intelligence is crucial in various aspects of life, including in personal relationships, work, and leadership. Why do so many men out there struggle with emotional intelligence?
Specifically, men have been taught more often than not that emotions are bad.
Yeah.
Don't show your emotions, and so don't cry, don't express anything. So they get stoic, but not in a real way. It's like it's all repressed and it's down there, and then it blows up when you're stressed out, frustrated, or you drink too much tequila. Right? So learning.
Something that's just so crazy is that like 99% of men were never actually taught how to express their emotions. And because of that, it causes a lot of men to suppress their emotions because there's a fear of like, if I show them, she's gonna think I'm weak. So it's like you'd rather be like silent on the outside, even though you have this burning pain inside of you of all these emotions that have built up over time. And the truth is like, if you go through this, the chances are it's not even your fault that you're going through it. Because most men learn this trait from their fathers, and most of our fathers had no clue how to deal with their emotions. It's like you're using this like broken like DVD player from like the year 2004 in 2023, and you're trying to make it work, and you don't have the right tools for the job. So like, what can you actually do about this?
I cannot date an emotionless guy. I can't date a guy who just wants to act tough 24/7.
Okay, so I need to clarify this so that women can understand. We don't hold things in because we're being tough. Men are raised, especially in the black community, to expect nothing from society. We're raised with the thought process that no one cares. You either do what you're supposed to do as a man, or you're worth nothing. And it's that thought process that gets us to a place where we don't open up because no one cares. And if no one cares, why open up? And sure, you might come into our lives and claim that you care, but if we haven't built that trust, it's going to be very difficult for us as men to expect you to care about our soft feelings, especially if no one else before you has actually cared. It's not about being tough. It's just that we haven't had someone who actually cares. It's really that simple. And it's very sad, honestly.
Emotional intelligence is a set of skills that can be developed by anyone, regardless of gender. However, there are societal and cultural factors that may contribute to how emotional intelligence is expressed or perceived between genders. Here are some factors to consider. Number 1, socialization. From a very young age, boys are often socialized to suppress emotions such as vulnerability, sadness, or fear, while girls may be encouraged to express and discuss their feelings openly. This socialization can impact how individuals develop and express emotional intelligence over time. Number 2, stigma surrounding emotions. In many cultures, there's a stigmatization attached to men expressing vulnerability or seeking help for emotional issues. This can discourage men from developing or displaying emotional intelligence, as they may fear being perceived as weak or unmanly.
Most men fear opening up and becoming vulnerable because there's a fear that we will be emotionally blackmailed.
Good. That's true. Bruh, that's true. Sarah Jakes, I was on her show a few months ago.
Me and Sarah talked about the same thing.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, sis, it's hard for me to open up to a woman because as soon as I open up, y'all start judging a little bit. Now, that's not Sarah. I love you, Sarah. I know it's not Sarah. I've known Sarah for 20 plus years. You know what I'm saying? I can always keep it real and vulnerable with her. That's why I felt safe to say that on her show, because she confirmed me. But James.
Bro, let me tell you something.
Why men be thinking or feeling like less of a man when they express their emotions towards a woman?
I'm gonna tell you why. It's because you'll throw it a month later when we argue. You'll throw it back in our face, and I was like, damn, I told you that because I trusted you, and you're gonna come. We argue, and you're gonna come back and throw it in my face.
Goddamn right.
Men don't talk, And this is something that we have to look at. They're taught to be a man and internalize everything. And then on top of that, us women, we have never learned, we were never taught what it means to create the atmosphere for your man to open up himself to you. And so in times, in moments where your man opens up himself to you, it's very hard for you to receive it. In fact, in a moment where you were upset at him, angry at him, mad at him, you used that information that he gave you, which was so sacred, against him. It was a slap to his face. And now you're asking yourself, why doesn't he talk? Why doesn't he want to speak to me? Why isn't he going the same way that he did before? So we have to learn how to create the atmosphere for a man to open up himself to us. But it's imperative that we know that this atmosphere comes from within.
Men who feel the need to constantly hide all of their emotions tend to have experienced a world where sharing them was not safe. They constantly face backlash when it comes to sharing, even when asked, and have found the best way to avoid it is to isolate themselves, and for a lot of men, remain single. We keep asking where the real men are at, but rejecting them when they show up. So if we want men to share, we have to first be willing to make a space that is safe for them to do so.
So guys, do you think women make it so hard for men to be expressive? Do you think women should be blamed for not creating the appropriate space, the right environment for a man or for men to express themselves, for men to share their vulnerability? Should women be blamed for that? Would you blame a woman 100% for using the information a man shared with her as a reference point should need be? Do you think that's a bad practice? Do you also think that people's past should be erased completely, or do you think people's past should be a reference point? Do you believe that people can change completely from their past and become a brand new person if they make effort and decide to change? Because when men share information, they are scared that those information may be used against them, because people might think they are still who they are, even if they might appear to be a brand new person. People might have, or women or people might have this fear that they have the tendency of going back to who they used to be before, because if you've done something before, it's easier for you to go back to who you used to be before than you trying to do something you've not done before, if you get what I mean. For thinking that, oh, if someone has been this way before, the person has a tendency of doing the same thing in the future. So I have to also note that this person might have this ability. So should a man be upset if a woman speaks about his vulnerability in that way? Is a woman allowed to think that way? Or should she just say, this man is changed 100%? This is a new chapter. Let's move on from the new person he claims he is and never look back. What do you think about all this? And should men depend on women to express their feelings? Should men depend on women to be expressive? Can't men break off from the societal norms? Can't men break off from the gender role that the society have created? Anyways, you can only break off from something you know that exists, because a lot of people are not aware of what the society is up to. A lot of people are just automated. A lot of people can't think for themselves, can't reason. A lot of people are in the program. They're being programmed. They feel like this is how it's supposed to be. There's no other way around it. If you try to stay off the queue, you'll be seen as an outcast. So people don't want to be seen that way. They rather remain in the queue and keep moving forward. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section.
You see a lot of men who are very emotionally immature and get stunted at different parts of their life emotionally, and it shows up in how they behave. This is the work. It's learning how to recognize your emotions and process your emotions without repressing them. And then you can alchemize emotion. It is energy. You can alchemize it into a creative energy that you can use to drive you. And if you're confused by that, just think about this. How many times have you been angry or maybe even sexually pent up, which there's an emotional state that comes with that, and then you go work out and you get an incredible workout in, one of the best you've ever had. What is that? You are alchemizing emotion into an energy that you can use to create. And if you can do that with the gym, you can learn how to do that with really anything. It's just learning how to alchemize energy into a useful state.
It can be really difficult to know where to start when it comes to your emotions, but if you have a partner, there's something that you can do with her. And that's just to go to her and tell her just the label of the emotion that you're feeling. And I know it can be difficult to even understand what labels emotions have. So you can take a look at this chart and figure out, what am I actually feeling on the inside? Using this strategy is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to give like a hint to your girl of what actually is going on inside. And because she probably has more experience with emotions than you do, she's actually going to be able to use that as a hint and dig into it a little bit further so that she can help you out. Because remember, she can't help you with what she doesn't know is going on inside. But what's really cool is number two, it's going to build a much deeper connection between you and her. And it's probably instantly going to happen. And I truly mean instantly, because I've seen this happen in my own relationship. As soon as a woman has something to connect with you on, especially when it comes to emotions, she's going to be able to open up to you more, and you guys will actually have a deeper relationship because of it. Women are amazing at building connection through emotion. It comes from the heart. And if she's strong and supportive, she'll be able to feel into some of your emotions so that she's able to help you with them. So that is truly the first step, is just naming what you are experiencing. And if you've made it this far in the video, I really want to congratulate you, because this is not a popular topic, but I think a lot more guys could benefit from it. So congratulations, I'm proud of you. And if you like this content, follow me for more.
Thank you so much for watching, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.